Welcome to Spiritual Dialogues with Father Odon de Castro. We are here at Pariana Lay Monastic Community. I'm your host, Brother Lodi, and with us is Sister Tachi. Sister?
Okay, Father, in this deplorable situation, maybe there is a solution, and that's the one you're supposed to tell us.
Yeah, we have mentioned the sin that has caused the big scandal in America. That is the sin of Sodom and Gomorrah. No. We mentioned the situation, and the deplorable situation is not that the person committed the sin. It's almost expected. That's why we mentioned the fact that the Mass on Wednesday of the 32nd week of the liturgical calendar even speaks about this. In other words, it's possible, it will happen. But what we were surprised is that their co-bishops could not help him. And while Pope Benedict was able to help him, giving him the proper solution, Pope Francis could not help him and even told him to do the exact opposite of repentance. To make matters worse, the Bishop's Synod on the youth had just finished. And the ones leading this synod are people who were covering up for this bishop in the United States, covering up
The
for
sin.
this deplorable sin committed in the United States. And not only are they covering it up, they are pushing that these children, this youth, Bishop Synod for the youth, like the World Youth Day and
Yes,
so
yes,
like
yes.
that, should tolerate and welcome this sin into their lives.
In other words, come on, let's do it.
In other words, let's do it. That's
Come
right.
on, Father, really. Wow.
So this situation really is very serious. In other words, the Catholic Church in the United States is really going down because of the leadership of people, of bishops and priests who are guilty of this sin.
Guilty na. You're pushing it pa. You're pushing it others to do it. What?
Well,
Is that
of
the,
course.
like, what? Is
Saints
that?
always wants to bring others to heaven, and
Yes,
sinners
yes,
would
but-
always like to
Okay,
drag
okay,
people to hell. That's
go together.
Yeah. So we have the situation, and the Mass for today precisely, and the readings of the first, second reading, is reminding us as, this happened before in Sodom and Gomorrah. It has happened in the Old Testament. Sodom and Gomorrah is Old Testament.
Yes.
It will happen in the New Testament. It has happened in the New Testament during the time of Saint Peter Damian.
Yes.
During the time of Saint Peter Damian, practically most of the priests and the bishops were like this. It was a very bad situation. The Pope did not know what to do. The Pope did not know what to do. Fortunately, there was a saint, Saint Peter Damian, and if you will notice, he was a Benedictine monk, which shows us that the solution really is in Benedictine monasticism, practiced in the primitive way.
Original.
I have to add that primitive way, because most Benedictines are no longer observing the primitive observance. They're all modernized because of Vatican II. And so many Benedictine monasteries are filled with sodomists.
The same thing.
The same problem, and so on like that. I mean, this is not only a problem for cardinals and bishops.
Yeah.
It is all over the religious orders. The Jesuits are very well known for it. I'm saying the Benedictines are filled with it. I suppose the Dominicans and so on also are filled with it. Because it's the whole world that is filled with it. It's the whole town of Sodom and Gomorrah who was infected. Now it's the whole world. And as you mentioned, Christ had warned us about this. And the solution was to send angels to Sodom and Gomorrah to tell Lot and his family to get out. Which shows us that in a situation like this, very few. We rarely get out of it safe. In fact, the entire family of Lot was able to go out, except the wife.
Because she was told not to look back at Sodom and Gomorrah, but he defied.
In other words,
Yes.
the idea of fuga mundo, fuga, is a monastic idiom. In other words, leave the world. Leave the world, fuga mundo. Leave Sodom and Gomorrah. Leave the sinful world, because Christ himself during Holy Week reminded us that the prince of the world is Satan. So why should you stay there when the prince of the world is Satan? You have to leave the world and live the monastic life.
It reminds me of what St. Paul said. Do not conform to the ways of the world.
Well, exactly. Because if you stay there, you
Now worse than
conform.
ever.
Yeah. But even those who live the world, to live the monastic life as Lot and his family did, are not even sure to go to heaven, as shown by the example of the wife.
Yeah.
So not even monks who live the world, who leave Sodom and Gomorrah to enter the monastery, are sure to go to heaven, shown by the example of the wife of Lot. What was her defect? She regretted leaving behind what she left.
That's why he turned his face back to
That's
the
why she
Sodom.
looked back,
I look back.
Regretted.
as Scripture says. In other words, like you have left the world. You left your cars, but you can regret having left your car. You left your job and regret having left your job.
No.
You left your home and your money and your husband and your wife and your children and regret having left them behind.
And you said that the mind and the heart is not really that good.
And if you notice, what you just regret, you didn't even go back yet.
No, they
And
didn't
God
even
is
go
already
back.
angry.
Because God could punish you
Diba?
before you go back.
You didn't even go back yet.
That's what happened to the wife of
Yes,
Lot.
that should warn. That should
Yeah.
be scary.
It is. But nobody explains that.
Yes, not that part.
I mean, they left Sodom and Gomorrah. Many bishops who are guilty of being sodomists would like to live probably their way of life, but they don't know how to do it.
I see.
I mean, the other bishops could have helped these bishops
Yeah.
in America. We have bishops in the Philippines who are like that. The other bishops could help him, but they're not,
Why?
because they don't know how to do it. And yet, it's very clear in the Mass for today, Wednesday
Yes.
of the 32nd week of the year. It's very clear.
Yes, it's clear.
So, what's the problem?
Yes, what's the problem, Father? What's
There
the
is no real intention of trying to reach a supernatural level.
You just stay
being
in that
human,
state?
Or converted to a different kind of man.
The first step is not even supernatural. It's just to
to live
live
the world.
Sodom. All you need are two legs.
Yes,
yes,
yes.
Father.
You have to desire to live it. Maybe you love it.
Then afterwards, when you leave it, as God did it, He began to bless Lot and so on like that.
And help.
The
If,
family,
if it's difficult, okay, He will help.
give them more graces and so on to learn what are the next steps.
Yes, and that's what He did. And it's good because this one about you explaining about the wife turning back and regretting is it's an eye opener. I mean, nobody has thought of that. Just to regret, you know what, Father? That's really something.
Yeah, but how come nobody's ever
Ex-
thought of
explain
that?
that, even
When it is so
explaining.
clear what happened
Yes,
to the
yes,
wife
yes, yes.
of Lot. And that's what is happening to all the religious orders, the Jesuits, the Dominicans, the Benedictines. Why now they're filled with sodomists? because they all regretted having left behind the world,
Yes,
and they're all
maybe.
back living worldly lives.
That's the one.
That's the reason.
They regretted it. That's why they're leaving it like that.
They're doing exactly.
Anyways, I get, Yes.
What are they doing?
yes.
They're going back to Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yes. It's more fun like
But
that.
what holds them? Is the desire to be in the world, to experience sensual pleasure or something?
Well, it's always the love for sin. That's all.
That's
The only
already
problem is
ingrained
that
there.
you love to sin.
Yeah.
That's the only problem.
That's why St. Paul said, do not conform to the ways of the world.
Yeah, because that would be loving.
And Father, even if they left, they still should not commit that. Even if they went back to the world, they should not. I mean, it's not open to anything. That's a no, wherever they are.
Yeah, but when you go into the world,
I should surely. That's surely, no. But
yeah, you become a slave of Satan.
yes, already finished na yun.
And the moment you become a slave of
Yes.
Satan, you take
Yes.
orders from
From
Satan, of course. Yeah.
So there's no anywhere they go, they have to keep away from the sin. I mean, wherever they are. Okay, maybe they don't want to leave their diocese. Keep clean. But it cannot be done.
Cannot be done.
Okay.
Okay.
That's clear. That's clear.
You
Cannot
have-
be
you
done.
have to
You have to
leave
live
Sodom
that.
and Gomorrah.
You have to live that. Where you are and where you are committing sin, live.
Yeah.
Yes. You have to move somewhere else.
But what happened to Nineveh is somewhat different from what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah. Because Jonah went to Nineveh. Nineveh was so simple, but then it was saved by God.
Yeah, because Nineveh repented.
Yeah, that's the one they don't want to.
But the repentance of Nineveh was easy because it was the repentance of the Old Testament, which is the repentance of Saint John the Baptist. The repentance for these bishops and
Yes, the
priests is the New Testament repentance of Jesus Christ, which is more difficult than the repentance of the Old Testament. It is more difficult, then it needs more graces, and this is what they do not know how to do. That's why confessions of most Catholics today are invalid, because their repentance is the repentance of the Old Testament, which cannot forgive sins. Your repentance must be the repentance of the New Testament, and John the Baptist said that. He said, my repentance does not forgive sin. It is his repentance that
Christ.
forgives sins.
For us lay people,
What is that?
what kind of repentance? As you said, it must be repentance according to
A
Christ.
lifetime.
Yeah.
Could you explain it so that we will understand how to...
Yeah. Well, briefly, that's really the problem, that Catholics today do not know how to repent in the New Testament way. The repentance is mostly Old Testament, and Old Testament repentance is not sufficient for the forgiveness of sins. Now, in the Old Testament, you have three elements of repentance. Three. And that's mentioned in the Old Testament. Prayer, fasting, and good works. There is Old Testament prayer. There is Old Testament fasting. The Pharisees used to fast the Old Testament way. And there is Old Testament good works. And the Pharisees were doing Old Testament good works. But those are all in the physical level. Physical.
About the New Testament repentance.
It's all spiritual.
How do we do that, Father?
In the Old Testament, when you pray, it's just verbal. Like, have mercy on me, O God. You pray with your voice, with your mouth, your midst. In the New Testament, the repentance is the raising of your mind and your heart to God. That's very spiritual.
We have only 30 seconds, Father, please.
So there we have the sins being committed, and we have been giving hints how to overcome these sins and what is the defect in the Catholic Church today, precisely, which makes the Catholic Church, which we refer to as the institutional Catholic Church. This is different from the true Catholic Church, because the true Catholic Church is a very spiritual church. You don't even know where it is right now. Most people don't know where it is. Even Pope Benedict is looking for it. He knows how it looks like, but you have to pinpoint where it is. No? He knows how it should look like, and that's very good enough. You should know how it looks like.
So when you see,
Yeah, when you see it.
yeah, you know it.
But most Catholics, bishops, and priests do not know how it looks like.
So they cannot find it.
So, of course, they cannot find it. So the institutional Catholic Church is completely confused. The true church exists, and that's what we're going to discuss in our future program, how that Catholic Church look like and how to be members of that true Catholic Church.
Thank you very much, Father. And thank you for watching Dialogues with Father Udon de Castro. Keep on watching this program so that we will be enlightened to the teaching of Christ and the Old Testament and the New Testament. Please, thank you very much.
Hosanna, Hosanna.